Happy Friday. I hope you're ready for your weekend. Thank you for joining us. Yesterday, we discussed feng shui and how it can enrich your life and improve your stress levels. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper today into calming stress today. And as we discussed self-soothing techniques with our guest, Andrea Evgeniou. Andrea is a therapist specializing in trauma and anxiety. And Andrea's Instagram feeds has many great tips for handling stress and trauma naturally. She's going to share some tips with us today so we can live healthier and happier lives. So I saw.
Hey,
It's so smooth and no lag time. It was like perfect.
oh, that felt really good. I was just like, I got in, you accepted me, and now we're here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time joining us on a Friday afternoon. I felt like this is such a great topic to talk about as we're entering into
Yeah,
the weekend.
yeah, because we all want to feel good for the weekend after a crazy busy life. So I agree. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you became a therapist.
So I've worked in mental health for about 15 years now, and it's been like my only career. So I know a lot of people have, they hop around different careers. I think that's amazing, but I've been in it. I love it. What brought me to the field is at a younger age, around 18, I experienced like a great loss. Someone close to me passed, and I didn't really know how to handle that. Um, and I was young and I didn't really like want to talk about it because it was awkward and I wanted to avoid. And so I think because I didn't process, I was having different types of symptoms,
Mhm.
panic attacks, but I thought the panic attacks were heart attacks. So my mom would like bring me to the ER and they would, eventually they were like, I think you have anxiety. Um, and so, there started my journey with getting my own therapy. And, I still struggle with anxiety today. That's because I know all these great tips, things does not mean my life is void of anxiety. Anxiety is very natural. Panic is natural, to an extent. It's like how we manage. So yeah, I still deal with that today. But that's sort of what drives my practice.
That's really good to know that, therapists also have to deal with their own anxieties and it occurs in everyone. So you just got to get to know yourself and then knowing the techniques and about how to deal with it.
I would say most therapists I know these days have some form of lived experience.
Mhm.
Makes it sort of, for me trust that person just a little bit more.
Um, so you specialize in trauma and anxiety. Like, what's the connection between the two?
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a connection between anxiety and trauma. I think both of them are based in fear and self protection. Person with anxiety not only deals with those feelings of panic and dread and worry, but they also engage in behaviors that
Mhm.
sort of make it a little bit worse. So that person might avoid, that person might seek reassurance, that person might, do checking. And what that means is so an example of seeking reassurance is maybe you think someone's angry at you. So you constantly text them, did I do something wrong?
Mm.
Is everything okay? And that like sort of soothes your anxiety for a short term. Avoidance would be, and this happened to me after the death of my friend. He died in a car accident, and so I was like becoming really afraid of driving. To
Mm.
I just avoided it altogether, and then my world became so small because I couldn't go anywhere. So those are the types of behaviors that then fuel the anxiety even further. Um, and also self-medicating. A lot of
Mm.
people with anxiety and trauma will self-medicate through, substances and food and all of that. Anxiety does not necessarily have to be caused by trauma, but a lot of times it is. But some people are just predisposed to being an anxious person.
Mhm.
No, my son is. He's just like naturally anxious. he probably gets it from me. It's probably in the DNA at this point. Um, and trauma victims, on the other hand, they do have a lot of anxious symptoms. It's not just anxiety.
Mhm.
It's a lot more than that. Um, One of the symptoms that are very similar to anxiety is hypervigilance. It's like that in state of worry and your nervous system ability to feel safe. So you're always like, oh my gosh, I'm always in danger. Um, so yeah, they are related, I think.
Yeah, so you mentioned a lot about trauma, and I think like everyone's definition for trauma is a little bit different. So, in your words, like, how do you describe trauma?
Yeah, I think trauma occurs when we experience something that you know, overwhelms our nervous system. And that could be such an array of things, of someone in war, feeling tremendously terrible. That could be, sexual abuse. That could be over time, someone emotionally abusing you.
Mhm.
All be traumatic and make us not feel safe. There's this really good quote from, I know you asked my own words, but this guy does it much better. So, best is like the trauma guy in this world, and he has a quote that sort of goes, "It trauma is not just the memory of what happened to you, but it's the imprint of the pain and
Mhm.
fear that's living in you
Mm.
because it remains. It's not just a memory.
Mhm.
Feel it now, and that's why trauma is so real time, and that's why we get flashbacks with trauma."
Now we need to learn how to deal with it, which is comes to today's topic, self-soothing techniques. You had like a super awesome post about self-soothing using your senses, which why we invited you on, and then you discuss how the senses play a role in our experience and emotions. Like, could you explain a bit?
Yeah, explain how anxiety impacts our life, or was that
Uh, yeah,
sorry.
all of the above. Anxiety,
Oh,
how anxiety impact our lives, and then you can use like one of the technique for self-soothing is using your senses, and then so how do we use our senses to kind of like release that
mhm. Yeah,
anxiety?
yeah, anxiety could definitely impact our world. We when we're anxious, we don't feel safe, so our fight or flight response is going off, and our central nervous system is going off. That's why when you have a panic attack, um, all the energy that it sort of takes to just keep you going on a day to day, it's now you're in, you know, in a mode where you're in danger. So your heart is pumping, your arms are numb because all the blood is going to central organs. And then your prefrontal cortex is sort of shut off at that point. So you can't, remember things. You can't juggle your responsibilities. So if we're not taking charge of our anxiety, it really has an impact on our lives. And so, um, it's so using our senses is such a good hack to sort of
Mhm.
get us back into present moment. And so, I always tell people that are maybe hyper vigilant, hyper anxious in their thoughts. I tell them, let's get back into our body because our brain is such a great place. It's a wondrous like machine, and it does all these wonderful things, but it's not a good place to live.
Mhm.
That we're living in our brain. A lot of times we start to can you see me?
Uh-huh.
We start to have the what if thoughts and, oh, I should have, um, and those aren't really helpful. Those thoughts don't really go anywhere. So we want to get ourselves back into our body, and we can do that through our senses, mindfully connecting to the things that are around us through taste, touch, smell, all of that.
I love it. I love it. Okay, now let's dive into each of them.
Yeah.
So, what role does the touch play in emotions? And then, what are some good techniques for using the sense for self-soothing?
Okay. Yes, touch is such a foundational one, and it definitely relates back to childhood. Or when we're babies, we get held,
Mhm.
rocked, all of that. And just as we have this fight or flight response, we also have this natural care response, right? Like that's why with baby, we want to just like eat them
Yeah.
up, cuddle them all up, take care of them. So like we have that too. And so we can, of course, care for other people, but we can care for ourselves in that same way. So with touch, like you can give yourself loving touch. You can give yourself a hug. Um, One thing that I like to teach people to do, and maybe you know it, but it's called a butterfly hug. So you put your thumbs together like this, right? And then you put them on your chest and you just tap. Yeah. And you just breathe. And it sort of creates like a trance response, called bilateral stimulation. Um, and you could just focus on that. And it's very, very soothing. Yeah.
I so use that.
Yes, my kids use it, all my clients use it. It's just like a nice hug, butterfly hug. So you can do that, of course, petting your animal, wearing something that's soft, like your favorite or your favorite socks that are really comfortable. Um, all of those things I think are great when it comes to, touch and how we can use it to regulate our mood.
So cool. Okay, now a different sense.
Okay.
Taste. How do we use taste to help emotions? And I could this being like, potentially for overindulging. I feel like I could be one of those, like totally overindulging my taste.
I definitely hear what you mean. Yeah. So I mean, all of this you want it to be intentional, and you don't want to go in there autopilot. Because a lot of times when I'm sort of binge eating or overeating, I'm doing it in a thoughtless way. I'm just like, okay, McDonald's, I'm hungry, I'm gonna be there. With this, when you're doing all of these sort of exercises with your senses, you want to do them with intention. So you go ahead and you say, I'm doing this because I want to regulate my emotions, and I'm just gonna have a few bites because I know that's what I need. It doesn't have to be this whole thing. It's as long as you do it with intention, and then don't judge yourself for it too, right? You're allowed, personally, I believe that you're allowed to have ice cream sometimes. And you're allowed to have
Absolutely.
your favorite, foods growing up that maybe aren't so healthy. But they make you feel so warm and fuzzy inside. Um, so I recommend like knowing what foods make you feel good inside, and even as maintenance, like a few times a month, like maybe my mom's like stew that I grew up eating, or what I do, because I don't cook actually. I love going to a bakery and just smelling the okay, that has more to do with smell, but going to an ice cream store and tasting just a little taste, that could be like a really exciting and a distraction for when we're stuck in our head.
Okay, now we talked about touch, we talked about taste. Let's talk about sound.
Okay. Yeah, sound is another good one. I just recently made a post, I think yesterday or the day before, about music and how it is so great to be used for our mental health to shift our mood. Um, I have a music teacher that actually just passed away this week, and that's what brought me
I'm
back.
sorry.
And I remember when I was in choir with him, it was like the best time of my life. I was feeling so good, and that sense of connection to others. Um, I don't know if you've ever sang with anyone, but that vibration that occurs, like sing with someone else, it's almost like magical. And there's actually science behind it too, right? Like when we sing, when we hum, we're vibrating our vagus nerve, and when we can activate our vagus nerve, we're then activating our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our calm response. So, I like the science behind all of it because then I believe it. And so, music can do that.
Wow. And then what about smell?
Yeah,
You mentioned a little bit about smell before already.
right, right. Yeah, smell is another good one and very easy one to sort of do discreetly. Though sometimes I'll suggest that a client purchases like maybe those essential oil rollers and keep them in their purse, and take a whiff. If you like flowers, you could do that too. Um, Again with the bakery, I've been known to just frequent a bakery and just to walk around. So that, that's a really lovely one. And that's another one that can like bring you back to like a good memory, right? Like when you smell, that stew or, that birthday cake.
I could also see like your sight can also help you, right? If you go outside and then feel it, the wind, then you have the sound and then you like see it, that could also play a role.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so, we can use all of our senses really, is- which is so cool. And it's so important too when you do this to do it mindfully and give your attention to just that.
Mm.
You know, you want to use this as a mindfulness strategy. If you notice that other thoughts are coming in that are not so helpful or that don't really have anything to do with your practice at the moment, you don't judge yourself for having them, and you say, I'm not, thank you, but I'm going to choose to focus on, visualization or looking at this beautiful waterfall or, people watching. And it's a really good, oh, it's just like just how we go to the gym. Well, I don't, but some people go to the gym. Now they're pumping weights, they're practicing mindfulness strategies. We're practicing that part of our brain.
So besides we talk about these senses, are there other tips you would suggest for promoting kind of a calm state of mind?
Yes, I do. I have an exercise I want to do with you, if that's okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So it kind of has to do with our senses. It's more visualization. Okay. So I love this one. I do this all the time with myself and with my clients. So you don't have to tell me what it is, but think of something that you have coming up that is difficult and you're kind of
Mm.
worried how you might handle it. Okay. And you let me know when you've thought of it.
Yes.
Okay. And you don't have to share, but you could if you wanted. Um, so now you have that event in your head. Now, what are three emotions, three emotions that you would like to feel in order to have success in that event? That you have to tell me.
Okay, I'll backtrack. We have the difficulty thing we're gonna facing in the next few weeks is we need to write a grant. We need to write a grant proposal.
Okay.
So that makes me anxious. The three emotions that comes with it to make it successful, or like kind of,
How do you want to feel going into that grant writing process? That
I
make
want to feel prepared, that I have done enough homework, and I want to feel that I'm not rushed, which has happened to me all the time, that I'm so last minute.
so
I want to feel prepared, not rushed.
let's start with prepared. Okay.
Okay.
So you're up. Okay. You have your finger up. Okay, good. So you have your finger. Now I want you to think of the word prepared. Okay. And I want you to sort of breathe and just imagine, like, what does prepared look like? What color is it?
Green.
Green. Okay. And when you feel prepared, where do you notice that in your body?
My head is
Okay.
not, I guess in my brain, I don't feel so tense. I feel calm. Oh my God.
Okay. So you feel it, and it's like a looseness. It's
Mhm.
you're not tense. It's maybe melt. It almost feels like you're melting away. All right. So you feel it in your head, a looseness in your head, and it's green. Okay. So sit with that for a second. Just imagine it. Okay. Now, what's the second emotion you want to feel?
Not rushed.
Okay. So you can put your second finger up. Now, when you think about not rushed, okay, same thing. What does it look like? What color is it? Where do you feel it in your body?
Not rushed means we can submit the grant a few days in advance, not on the day off or on the clock. Um, the color I felt is like anything not red.
Okay. So what color would you give it? Not rushed. Taking your time.
Blue.
Okay. Blue. Okay. And when you feel not rushed, where do you notice that in your body?
Probably more feel like in my heart that I don't feel the pounding of it.
Great. Okay. Okay. It's like a slowness.
Mhm.
Okay, great. What's the third feeling?
The third feeling going to it, confident,
Okay.
confidence.
Okay. What color? So the same thing. What color is it? What does it look like?
Confidence feels like I know what to write in a grant.
Mhm.
I guess that also have to do with being prepared. Um, the color of it, orange.
Okay. Okay. And when you feel confidence, where do you notice that in your body?
I feel like I can sit straight.
Oh, it makes you feel like maybe your chest is puffed out,
Mhm.
really good posture. Okay. So now, imagine a rainbow where you have your green, your blue, and I think you said orange.
Mhm.
Okay. And sit with all of those feelings and pleasant sensations in your body. And you're going to make a fist. Okay. Okay. And now you have it. Okay. So when you're going in to that grant rating process, you can be confident that you can just make a fist, close your fist, and you can actually shift your mood, right? Not that you want to dismiss how you're feeling, but you need to feel that
Mhm.
successful. So for me, that's a really fun grounding activity where you're visualizing and you're like checking in with yourself. So yeah.
I feel like this is also a really nice reflection too,
Mm.
not just preparing going into it, but then also the moment you start, because when you, I guess, when you force yourself to think about what feeling you want to go into it, then it kind of like maybe subconscious. Then I will start preparing like
I think
they just even just to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. I think great. Yeah. Yeah. So you could do that with any situation, yourself. So yeah, so that would be one that I would recommend. A coping strategy, a regulating emotion tool.
This is so cool. Okay, tell us like what's a consultation with you look like? This is so cool.
So I work at a group practice at the moment, and I book up pretty quickly. So I don't know if I have that. I don't know what room I have on my calendar at the moment, but you could check out the website, which is Resolution Point Behavioral Health. You can Google it, or you can message me on my Positive Regard page, and I could see about connecting you with our front desk person. Um, and hopefully down the line, I'm going to be doing some coaching and group work. I'm hoping to start that in the new year.
That is so cool. So what is the consultation with you look like? Like what's the process?
Yeah. So I would typically do an intake, and basically that's just me asking you a bunch of questions to get to know you. And we would probably that's like the assessment phase.
Mhm.
I want to understand who I'm talking with. I want to build your trust. And we'll do that for like one or two sessions. And then we sort of like, we start doing the work. We start putting in some really good work.
Wow, this is so cool. So we're gonna include all that information in the post promoting this live so people can know. And I know you have like so many great messages through your Instagram. So like encourage everyone to follow Andrea at positive underscore regard underscore for underscore you.
Yes.
So we'll
Yeah.
have that link there.
Yeah. Yes. Follow me. I try to post like every day, every other day. And all of that stuff it's all stuff that I work with my clients on. So even if you're not my client, you're getting a little taste of working with me by following my page.
Thank you so much. This is like such great information. We learned about senses. I love the practice you did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it too. I teach it to everyone, even like my husband, my kids, everyone's getting it.
And also remember the butterfly hug.
I know. I love doing it. It's so relaxed.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're gonna have to invite you back to share more tips. This is
Yeah,
so cool.
whenever you need.
Thank you everyone for joining. Be sure to follow Andrea.
Okay, bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye.